Yeah.
I've walked by here a lot. So
You
it's
have
much
walked
bigger.
by here. Now, again, it's the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. And as you said, you've waved to us from the window. And
Yes.
we're going to turn around at some point and show everyone what this looks like as you are pounding the pavement for all your real estate work, which is why we wanted to bring you in here today to talk about what's going on. Now, did you have the lease in the 38 Studios building?
I did a long time ago.
A long time
A
ago?
long time ago, yes. Not recent, not the Roger Williams Law School, who's in there now, and Grossmont, Rhode Island is also in there, and Social Security is also in there. So there is a lot going on in downtown. You just don't see the cranes because this spring you'll see cranes.
The spring will see cranes.
Yes. So you're looking at a couple of the projects that are happening downtown, including the Homewood Suites hotel over on the Triangle on Memorial Boulevard. The Prakashanti Group is developing their hotel over at the old Fogarty building. There are two other proposed hotels across the highway. I think there's just a lot going on that people, while we don't see activity that's cranes, we are seeing things that are happening, and a lot of stuff is in planning too. So I think it's getting better slowly but
I
surely.
was going to say, yeah, here we are now, March, gosh, it's March, I was going to say February. In March 2017, as we know, it's been a difficult few years. I mean, are we really on the rebound, and how do you see things moving forward?
I think we are. I think the reality of it is that we're not going to be fully developed like Boston is because we don't have the jobs and people in the downtown area. But with the Wexford projects and things like that, I think the economy is we're back. We're always going to be lagging, but we're back to where we were, especially with jobs creation. And I think you're going to see a lot more signs from real estate. Values are up, vacancies are down. So I think at the end of the day, it's getting better, and everybody should keep saying that because there were the naysayers who keep going, why are we this bad? We're not. We're getting better.
So we just had Bill Fisher in yesterday, PR for the Superman building, which we can see here in the studio through the top window.
Yes.
Now, back when they had presented their original iteration, they had thought primarily residential use. Now he's talking a lot more about mixed use with office space. Is that just the shift in, as you were just mentioning, vacancies and where the opportunities are? Do you think that mixed use approach will, be a viable approach versus all residential?
I do. I think there's always been some element of mixed use in it, and I think what's really happening, if you look at the building, is that you've got to have that balance because there are certain issues that are going to have to be addressed. It doesn't have a parking lot, so you have to find some place. If it's all residential, those people have to park somewhere.
Yep.
Well, there are private lots in and around the downtown. It just makes it more difficult. I think the combination of both office and residential it just makes sense at the end of the day. It's just getting the dollars there to do it.
Now, we're here in downtown, obviously Metro Providence and the metro region is larger. Are there any places that are booming, or what's the real estate, what's the landscape like for the rest of sort of the metropolitan area? Not just Providence, but it's Cranston, Warwick, Pawtucket.
Well, you look at the combination of Chapel View and Garden City. There's a lot going on there, especially with Garden City going forward with trying to get some more density and residential uses into their complex. You've got the City Center in Warwick, which has just gotten an approval for, I believe, a pretty significant project that the D'Ambro Group is proposing on Jefferson Boulevard. Those areas support, Aquidneck Island is always going to be Aquidneck Island with the Navy and everything else going down there. And South County is, everybody wants to live there. So it's the residential stuff down there is going very well.
And the Hospital Trust building for sale?
The Hospital Trust building for sale?
Yeah.
The Hospital Trust building, are you talking about the RISD dorms?
Yes.
They might be. I'm not sure about that.
I thought I'd heard something about that down here. But again, the iconic Superman building, we do know folks are opposed to any sort of subsidies to it. What's your views when folks say, no subsidies to turn that around?
Well, I think at the end of the day, we're going to have to look at some sort of creative subsidies, either by deferring taxes or setting out basically at a net zero so that the city is still getting whatever they're getting on the building now, and I know it's somewhat disputable. But I think there's got to be some combination of subsidies and investment by the owner to eventually get it. It's a huge project. It, as you said, is iconic, but it's also something that's going to need a little bit of help. Most of the development in downtown of the older buildings have had some sort of subsidies, historic tax credits, things like that. It's just going to be done creative and in the open so that everybody knows what's going on, so there isn't a back deal or anything like that. So.
And what are you working on? Talk to us about projects that you've got that we should be keeping an eye out for.
We've got a couple of things. We've got a building over on Fountain Street that's right across from the Providence Journal building. We just put a temporary tenant in there who's going to be working on the Park Ashanti Hotel, but we've got some space there, and then we're pretty spread across the state. We don't have, I can't sit here and say I've got this major project. I've got little ones, as I like to say, singles and doubles. Every now and then we get a home run, so we're working on everything.
And as you said, you're optimistic about cranes. I mean, everyone who goes to Boston, goes to the Seaport District, says, oh my God, the cranes there, when are we going to get the cranes here? So with those hotel projects, I mean, how many? 2, 3?
There were 2 on this side of the highway, and then there were 2 other ones proposed on the west side of the highway, one up near the intersection of Broad Street, and the other one I believe is over like in the Washington Street area. So again, it's Providence has right now, I believe, according to the Convention and Visitors Bureau, one of the highest occupancy rates for hotels.
Yes.
And what's going to happen is we're going to have more rooms, but we need more rooms. So it's going to be a good thing.
It's one of the things they keep talking about, and they unveiled the new tourism vendors this week.
Yes.
Clearly, tourism is always at the center point of bringing folks into Providence here as we're taking a look outside here. 195. How do you think that the commission's done so far in being able to, folks say, when are we going to get development there?
I think it's always a process. I mean, I've been in downtown, working downtown since 1983. Capitol Center was, developed. One of the first projects I appraised for the city or the state was the Triangle. That's finally getting developed on after 30 years.
Yes.
I think the good news is a lot of, as the previous chairman of the commission has said, that a lot of the infrastructure stuff is done. Mm-hmm. We don't have to do that. We're now pushing forward, and the current chairman and his group are pushing forward to get development started. I mean, it's a process. It's not, we're not Boston and New York where we have people, knocking down the doors, but there are people who are looking at Providence. There's a lot of interest in Providence just because secondary markets are now coming back as opposed to, the other markets are getting too expensive.
And is it the big tower proposal for 195? What's your thoughts on that? Originally it was 3, looks like it's 1, might be 3.
I kind of believe what it comes down to is when you come in the first time, you ask for as much as you possibly can, and you can always go down from that. You can't go back up. It's a little harder to say, I want more after you've come with a proposal. So I think that's the way. I think he's realizing the Providence market and is adjusting his expectations.
Yeah, so it was the tower that was going to be the highest tower in Providence,
Yes.
And folks sort of maybe balked at that. I mean, does Providence need something like that, an iconic, horizon-breaking building? And there's been some backlash about it. What's your thoughts?
My thoughts are I'm always encouraging someone who wants to come into the city and invest money, and I hope they do it, and I believe the city and the planning staff and everyone there and the state are mindful of where we are and what we are, but if a New York investor wants to come in and put money into Rhode Island, I don't think you should say no.
And then Kennedy Plaza is always at the focal point of what needs to be done there. I think they're looking at it again for improvements to be made. Is that where the best usage of Kennedy Plaza is, in your opinion? They're doing more, obviously, with the train station now, moving some of the bus stops around. Is it in a good position right now? Is that really something that is a factor when folks talk about the development of downtown? Is Kennedy Plaza a piece of that?
I think it is. I mean, I literally just got back, from Spain. And if you're in Europe, there are all these large plazas with lots of activity. You go to New York City and Boston, there are similar type areas that are vibrant and with life. And I think it's important and it's critical to do it right. It's just, it's meeting all the needs. I mean, we have a tenant who we put in the building we have on Fountain Street, who liked the fact that they were 1 block from Kennedy Plaza because most of their constituents are people who ride the buses. So, I think it has to be done with a balance towards both, the people who work downtown and the people who have to get through downtown. So.
And where do you see downtown, in the next, again, you talked about springtime, but, maybe 12 to 24 months? I mean, are we, again, on the uptick, and are we going to see more development?
I think you are. I think there's, I can tell you from our office, we get inquiries, if not weekly, every other week from people, mostly out of state, who are looking for opportunities in Providence. The issue becomes they're not ground-up developers. They're people who want to come in and do a lot of the things that people have been very successful with here. The problem is the people who are very successful have been here for a long time and have ridden the storms up and down, and now they're trying to come in and grab the same return, which isn't going to be possible just because we're in a different market.
So do you think that's a barometer? As you said, those phone calls, just inquiring about interest,
Yes.
Again, 2017 versus even 3 years ago.
Yes, I do. I mean, I started my company in 2010 coming out of the recession, and you've seen it clearly that there's a lot more going on. And I think we're going to keep it going on because we have the momentum, and as everybody says, we have the schools, we have the proximity to Boston and New York. We have, the state is doing a pretty good job of bringing in these larger companies, the GEs and the Johnson & Johnsons. I'm hopeful that they'll be able to drag some of their vendors and other people who want to be with those people along with them. So that's what we can hope for.
Tom Sweeney, feeling optimistic about downtown, talking to us about some projects. Again, expectations for cranes in the sky in the springtime. We'll be keeping eyes on the skies, the eyes on the skies. And before we let you go, we're going to ask you our trivia question here. Oh, you knew it was coming.
I did. I just saw it. So go ahead.
Just saw us ask Paul Caranci. I never want anyone to feel like, they're on the take and I've set up a, I'm going to pick a card, any card.
I just want to point out I am from North Providence, so I'll just give you that. So.
Tom Sweeney from North Providence. Okay, let's see what card he picked out here. Woo! Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, the Blank brothers. So, which brothers of Bristol built 5 victorious America's Cup yachts starting in 1893?
That would be the Hershoffs.
That would be the Hershoffs. Ding, ding, ding. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. We don't have any chicken for you, or prizes, or coffee, or water. Maybe they'll give you some on the way out. But, I would love for you to come in, keep us apprised of things going on in your end, anything going on real estate-wise here in downtown Providence, because folks just want to know. They want to know what's going on. They want to know when we're seeing cranes in the sky. And hopefully, in the springtime, we'll be seeing stuff up in the sky. And not just the Superman building.
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay. Tom Sweeney, thanks for providing your real estate expertise. I'll let